We did get a comment. I can't remember what it was because that was, last week.
Actually,
But,
the last time you and I did this was 3 weeks ago.
well, I mean, okay. Hi, first of all, everyone out there. Last week we got at least one comment.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
but I don't remember what any of the comments are between then and now. But anyway, hey, look at this. We're on
Hey.
Saturday instead of Sunday. So hopefully everyone who's interested in watching found us. I'm going to be on an airplane tomorrow, smack dab in the middle of live streaming time. So rather than force you to do this all by yourself, which would be difficult since I'm the one who has the setup on my
Yes.
computer,
And rather than ask you to do your live stream from an airplane, which would be interesting,
which it
but
would be interesting, but
would
mm,
really clamp down on your ability to talk freely.
yeah. So we're doing it today instead, and people can watch it back later. Today we're talking about 2023, which is
Yes.
practically this year.
It is
So,
practically. So probably a lot of people that are going to listen to this remember 2023. If they were in the community, they may not have come to Charm, but there a lot of people did.
yes, in point of fact, and even we have one comment from the Peanut Gallery, which is how I'm going to refer to Lenny today, mostly because of the comment. She's in favor of live streaming from the airplane. Thank you. No. Our combined total attendees for 2023 is a flat 500,
Yep.
which is pretty interesting to me because I know y'all wouldn't have rigged that to come out a flat 500 in any
Um,
way. I don't know how you would
um,
have.
uh, well, we did at the last minute make all the tech crew register. Uh, so but our paid attendance was like 495.
So no, that was last year. That was last year. 2023 in-person attendance was 308.
Ah, okay.
So, and that, interestingly enough, if you look at the numbers between 2020 and 2023, as I mentioned before we actually did the live stream, so no one knows what I'm talking about. In 2020, in-person attendees were 327. And then, of course, in 2022, there was the whole state of emergency
Yeah, there
in
were no
Maryland,
in-person
which
attendees.
caused, in 2022, when we thought we were coming back, they declared the state of emergency, and a whole bunch of people, myself included, switched online. So the number of in-person really dropped. So
It did.
in 2023, we don't really rebound to pre-pandemic levels, but
No,
that's
yeah.
okay because that's coming. Um,
Yes.
we had 77 classes, which is significantly fewer than you will see
Yes.
on future schedules. Um, I still have them broken down into their subcategories. So we had five on Thursday, although this is the first year where the con officially started on Thursday, right?
Yes. We got to a point where, you know what? We got tired of doing separate registrations and it really
Mm-hmm.
didn't make a whole lot of sense. So we just opened up Thursday to anybody who happened to be, well, I shouldn't say that. Any con goer who happened to be able to make Thursday was welcome to come,
Yeah.
and it did not cost anything extra.
And
Um,
while just based off of how many people I had in my Thursday class, while we did not see a huge jump in people who attended, it set the stage for 2024, where we had a significant number of people who, because they could plan ahead for it, did come on Thursday or Wednesday
yes.
night, rather. So we had five classes on Thursday. We had six online only classes, some of which were classes that started out as in person and then got switched when their presenters couldn't come in person for some
Yes.
reason. And we had 59 regular classes. Of
Yeah. So
those
our state,
59, 39 of them were hybrid. because this is also the first year that Charmed committed to being a true hybrid convention with
Yes.
having broadcasting the in-person classes of the presenters who were comfortable with that, and
Yes.
also recording some of those classes so that people
Later
could
playback.
watch them back.
Yeah,
And
this was the year that we tried doing a replay room
hmm
where we had scheduled, hey, if you missed it on Friday at 10:30 on Saturday, we're going to do, what the fuck is consent anyway? But it
which
was,
is the title of the class, by the way.
yes, that was the title of the class. That was that. But point being, you still kind of had to think about it and plan for it.
Mm,
So, and the feedback we got was, well, I mean, what if we get in late or we want to watch a real live class on Saturday? That's our one chance to see that class ever. So this is the only year we did this. For the following year, we made it, well, we tried Podia, but that's
mhm.
next year. So we'll talk about that next week.
But
Nice to
yeah,
say,
and
first try, the replay room was a success, but pretty much everybody told us that it was a little bit too rigid.
yeah,
So
that's
we took that in mind and we basically found a better way to do it,
mhm.
or at least a
That's
different way to do it.
I mean, it was a way that better fit the needs of attendees.
Yes.
Yes. We had 7 evening events, none of which were online only. We did get feedback, and it was kind of a letdown from in 2023, we didn't have any online only evening events. In 2022, we did because a bunch of the people who switched to online were able to find a way to make their online or to make their evening events that they had submitted into an online form.
Yes.
And
But that was all
most
very last minute.
yeah, and most of those people were able to come in person in 2023 and did those events live at the con. That's also something we got feedback about, and this year we will have online only evening events. So
Mhm.
we're moving forward and going up or something like that.
We are trying everything to help the online con become a full experience for those that
Mhm.
can't be there.
Yeah.
And evening events is one of our weak points still, but also we kind of have to rely on people to propose evening events. So
Yep. Well,
yeah.
hopefully this year will be kind of like Thursday in 2023 opening the door. Hopefully this year will open the door for more in the future.
Yes.
We had 51 speakers, 51 presenters,
Yep.
and the days of you or me or
Or
some of the
Benjamin
other
or
people having the most classes on the schedule. I shouldn't say it like that because I have a lot of classes this year. But as of 2023, the
yeah.
days of us having all the classes are gone. I want to give a shout
Yeah.
out to Panda, who somehow managed to get itself on, I want to say, 9 different classes in
It's possible.
2023, what with co-presenting and helping other people out.
I was going to say the thing with Panda is that it doesn't hold a lot of classes, if any, where it is the focus, but they're with other people and with
Mhm.
a bunch of other people. So
Yes.
that was an interesting schedule game all by itself.
Mhm.
Pulling how do we not drive Panda into just complete insanity?
Yeah. Of course, the thing about the what I've noticed is the people who tend to want to present a lot or want to participate in a lot of things go into it knowing how to police themselves.
Yes.
Like they're very clear about what their abilities are and how much they can actually deal with, and that's nice too. to not necessarily have to worry about the mental state after 2 days of presenting of someone.
Yes.
And the
I
thing,
still worry about their mental state.
well, yeah, but not as much as you would about an unknown quantity.
No, no, an unknown is, well, it's an unknown. I don't know how they
Yeah,
react to things. So yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I mean, speaking purely for me, because that's all I can really speak for. I didn't start this in 2023, but kind of around, well, 2021, I didn't do that much because I don't really like teaching online.
Mm,
I prefer the interactivity of having an actual human audience. Um, but it's been a while since I submitted proposals. Um, this is going to sound horribly privileged, but since I did it before the deadline, um, because I have developed this habit of looking to see what we have and then saying, okay, is there room and what don't we have that I could put
hmm
into that slot? So, um, part of that is because I had gotten some private feedback that certain topics people were just afraid to do anything on because they assumed that I would be doing them all the time.
hmm
Uh, so I stopped doing that. And that's partly why Kinky Human Tricks kind of went away, because for a while there was somebody else that wanted to present a similar class. I said, go for it.
hmm
And then they kind of dropped out of presenting. So, oops. But you know, the erotic hypnosis 101, there were several other people that wanted to give that a shot. And I was like, yes, do, please.
hmm
Um, so uh, that's why I stopped teaching as much
hmm
because we had other people that could do it, and I was waiting to allow them the chance to do it first.
Yeah, and that, right, I'm not at my best right now, and that's fine. Um, I'm in the middle of getting everything ready to leave town, and my brain's a little frazzled. But what I was gonna say was we do have some classes that are on the schedule, the same classes that are on the schedule every year. And the reason they're on the schedule every year is because no one else has submitted a class on that subject.
Yep.
So I do want to assure everyone that if you want to do a class on something that's already on the schedule, like next year, if you want to do a class on something you see represented, please don't assume that because it's on the schedule taught by a specific person, that that person owns that class topic. We want to see new versions
Okay.
of things. We want to see new points of view.
Yeah, and nobody let's just get this set out there. And if you want to hate me, if people want to hate me for saying this, they can. Um, Nobody owns a class topic. Nobody. Um, I don't care how well the class is put together and all that. You are absolutely encouraged to give your take on that class, or your take on that topic is probably a better way to put it.
hmm
Because I don't know of anybody who either has an eidetic memory or surreptitiously records somebody giving a class and then turns around and gives that exact same class. Uh, because we tend to want to put our stamp on whatever um of somebody it I've always wondered about that. It doesn't make sense to me. In hypnosis especially, nothing
So
is new. Oh,
we are having a little bit of a connection problem for you. You're doing some stuttering and some pausing in weird places.
noticing that I haven't gotten the saying that my internet is unstable, but it's definitely slow and choppy. So
Yeah. I will
let
say,
me,
do you want to pop out and pop back in again? Which may be what is happening since he is now completely frozen. So while we're waiting to see that situation resolved, I will say if someone wants to do a class like a musical hypnotic journey, the only thing I ask is that you come up with a different name for it. Thanks. And we'll see how long it takes before we manage to get Wise Guy back. While we're waiting, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you'll be able to see at the event. Ooh, now I'm very large. Excellent. Some of the things you'll be able to see at the event that have to do with our 10th anniversary, um, which for people keeping track, what we mean by 10th anniversary is 2025 will be our 10th event. And even though it looks like it's 9 years, it's really 10 years. And we've nearly got him back. We are going to have some interesting bits of specialty swag for people, including pins with our
well, that was interesting.
specially made logo on it. And he's back.
I am sorry.
It's all right.
I did not expect Zoom Workplace to suddenly shut down.
Well, whatever it wanted to do, we got you back, and now
And
the
I'm
words
smooth.
you're saying match up to the movements of your mouth,
Yeah, hey, how about that?
which is an added bonus.
So,
So we'll go back to
where I was going with that
yeah.
is, the whole field of hypnosis, nothing is new. Nothing. You come up with, and it happens all the time, is we will do something and it's fun for a while and then it kind of becomes passe or there's another way to do it or whatever. And the old way kind of goes away. And then a few years later, somebody else discovers it and it comes
Mhm.
back. So, you know, nobody has got anything that's truly new. So you don't have to feel like, just because this person did a robot play class that was absolutely incredible, that they're the only person that knows robot play and they're the only person that can ever teach robot play. That's ridiculous.
Now, you've
Show
given
us
me
your
a
class.
segue. You've given me a segue by
Okay.
bringing up robot play because our after talking about 2023, we were going to talk about Uncon.
Ah,
And
yes.
we don't have any robot classes on our schedule this
You
year.
know what? You're right. We don't.
And you know what you could do at Uncon? Someone could do a robot
A robot class.
class. It was
Uncon.
a lumpy, bumpy segue, but it was a segue nonetheless.
Because
So,
Uncon is a wonderful place. And we've said this, I think, before, but it bears repeating. If you have an idea for a class and it's not 100% developed yet, but it needs, you need to do a little bit of live testing with it, Uncon is great for that. Because for one thing, you start up, you get however many people are into it at the time. We'll put you in a room and you can give them what you have in the idea of the class. Find out, hey, if it only takes 25 minutes, so be it. It only takes 25 minutes, but you've learned a couple of things. You've gotten a chance to give some of the material out, and you can maybe come out of that experience with ideas on how to expand it so it takes a full hour or hour and a half or whatever, and get some feedback from those initial people as to what works, what doesn't work. So,
so for
wonderful
people
for
who
that.
are completely new to the idea of hypnosis conventions and never been before, what's the origin of the
Oh,
uncon in the first place?
oh
And
God.
what is uncon?
Okay,
People who
so
aren't grasping it from context.
and it's hard because it's kind of a weird context, but or weird concept. But the idea is, and this started years and years and years ago. I believe the original book about it is called Mob Rule or something like that. Somebody had noticed about conferences in general that a lot of the best parts of being at a conference are not the classes you go to, but the conversations you have in the hallway
Mhm,
or over lunch or dinner or whatever. That has a tendency to become way more educational and interesting than the stuff that is actually scheduled sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
mhm,
That's the idea anyway. So I forget who they were. They had nothing to do with us or the hypnosis community, but they put out this book with basic rules on how to run what they called an unconference. And it's really they're very simple rules. Whatever happens is what's supposed to happen. If what's working is not if what's happening is not working for you, get up and go somewhere else. The rule of 2 feet.
mhm,
Um, oh God, there were four principles that I'm blanking on the other two, but they were all basically the same thing. This there is no schedule per se. The schedule is
mhm,
made up at the time. The classes are made up at the time. The way we implement this, which I think is closer to the original rules of that than some of the other places that we've seen that would have done this. But we start out, we gather everybody together that's at the Uncon at 9 o'clock Sunday morning.
mhm,
It's always Sunday morning for us because a lot of people like to sleep in Sunday. A lot of people are starting to get pretty lagged for lack of sleep, so they're not necessarily up early, but those that are have a lot of energy and enthusiasm. So we gather them together, we put up a big blank schedule board. And basically, if you want to teach something, we put a post-it note up in one place on the board for this is available to be taught. If you want to attend something and you see a class that you like, you can put down there that you're interested in attending that. And as soon as we have a class offered and at least a couple people that want to attend, and I mean the threshold's really low, folks, like two, um, then we will assign that class a room and a time, and boom, that is it. And very often the time is now,
mhm,
unless there's a specific like, hey, it's 25 after 10, and I really want to do this, but let's give people a half hour to figure out whether or not they can be here for it. So we'll schedule it at 11. Okay, fine. So this room, 11 o'clock, boom, that's yours. And that
mhm,
goes on the schedule. Next question, next, yeah. That's how we work it. So if somebody proposes that they want to teach a class, but nobody ever signs up and says, hey, I'd like to see that. Okay, well, maybe next time.
mhm,
People can put up, I'd like to see a class on robot play, even if they
mhm,
don't want to teach it. And if somebody sees that does like robot play, they go, hey, I know a little about robot play. Okay, fine, I'll teach that. Great, we have a matchup. Here's your room, here's your time. So it's very, very, very made up on the spot.
mhm. How
Um,
long do you usually have people go for? I know I've done it one time in 10 years. I've made it to Uncon one time and did one class, and I want to say we had a half an hour. I don't know if that's a
I
standard
give you
anymore.
until you're done.
Hmm.
So if somebody's, and we've had this happen where, if you start like a discussion group and more people join in because they
Hmm.
can see that it's happening and stuff kind of keeps going. And we've had uncon classes go for an hour and a half.
Hmm.
Other uncon classes are done in 10 minutes, and that's
Hmm.
fine. However long you take is how long you have.
How many classrooms are going to be open for Uncon this year?
Probably just three. The three,
Hmm.
well, actually, we're going to do it in the all the way downstairs. So you'll have the three, what we're calling the hybrid rooms, although there will
Hmm.
not be any hybrid classes for Uncon.
Yeah. The
Um,
the in-person Uncon to make it clear to people, the in-person Uncon is not hybrid at all. There
Yeah.
will be an online Uncon that is
Yes.
coordinated by T, and that happens in, I want to say, Discord chat rooms.
I think so. I'm
Yeah,
fuzzy on how they work that.
but we
Um,
can get more information on another episode
yes, we
from
could ask
T.
T.
Yeah. So,
Yes. So we have 5 classrooms down there
hmm
because we have the 3 coastal and then there's also the windward and the leeward.
hmm
So up to those 5 rooms we'll use for Uncon. We won't
Okay.
go upstairs for Uncon because then we start getting into, well, how do we keep track of what's going on up there and down here? And
hmm
plus, well, this year for the first time, we will have dungeon hours during the
Yeah.
Uncon. So maybe you don't want to go to classes, but you feel like getting the shit beat out of you.
Yeah.
You can go to the dungeon.
Maybe the opportunity to have your arms and legs in stocks is enough to wake you up at 9 o'clock in the
Hey, we
morning.
have a pillory. So yes. I really I'm kind of excited about the pillory. I want to see how many people really get into that. Because I'll admit, I had the idea and Lynx was like, oh yeah, we should totally do that. But we have no idea whether anybody else has
Yeah,
any in this or not. So it'll
it
be
just
a
means,
fun kind of experiment.
yeah, if we can't find links at any point, maybe now we know where to look.
Yes. Yes. Uh,
So, as the MC of Uncon,
yes, I have taken
have
over that role. It used to be Turnabout and CU Foil, and they did a wonderful job of it. And I was kind of sad when they left, but okay, fine. I will do it as best I can. I think we're doing all right.
So, do you get to watch any of the Uncon classes at all? Do
Usually
you
I
get to
have to
pop
stay
in?
around by the schedule, so I
Hmm.
don't really get to watch them. Um,
Before you were emceeing, did you ever do one?
yes. Yes, before I was in charge of it, when I could just show up and say, "Hey, I'll teach this," or "Hey, I'd like to see that." I would do that a lot of most of the time. It would end up being something I was teaching.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, there was one year where they grabbed me and said, "Hey, we got a bunch of people that want to know about handshake inductions and nobody to teach it." I said, "Okay." So we
I
had a
mean,
class on handshake inductions.
I know there are several classes on the schedule this year that are about inductions, including one that is called Hands-on Induction Workshop. So I'm assuming that there are going to be handshake inductions in that class. But I want to throw out there to anyone who's listening that you can never have too many opportunities to practice handshake inductions. So
Nope.
somebody should do that for Uncon.
They could just, open clinic, practice your handshake inductions.
I mean, anything that sounds even vaguely possible. And that's what we want to get across, right? Is there are
Mhm.
very few things that that a hypothetical person is going to bring up that they want to explore as part of Uncon that we're going to go, no.
No, as long as they're not doing therapy, we're fine.
Yeah, if it's a class that didn't make it on the schedule, let's say this the right way. Some classes don't make it on the schedule because we're not going to take that class, that kind of class.
Yes.
And those are usually classes that have to do with therapy. However, if you turned a class in and it didn't make it on the schedule, odds are it's because we had 5 classes turned in on the same subject matter. If
Yes.
you want to do your class during Uncon, propose it.
Yes, by all means.
I want to say the only time, and it was probably 2023, the only time I've seen us flat out say no to a class that was put up for Uncon was we had a class that was submitted that we didn't take on the schedule that was not mental therapy, but like therapeutic massage. And we
Yes.
didn't know, we
Well,
were not
sometimes we have to make a
comfortable with
call and we,
with the training of the person presenting the class.
yes,
And they wanted to put it up for Uncon, and that
we
was a
said
point
no.
where
No,
we were
that's
like,
therapy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if but that's the only thing I can really
Yeah, I
think
think that's
of.
the only one that was blatant.
Yeah.
We've had people, we had a guy that used to do a lot of classes that liked to go toward therapy because he did therapy as a living.
Mm,
And for a while that was okay. And then we like, no, 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 you need to tone it down. And
yeah.
he kind of dropped out because he
I
didn't want
mean,
to tone it down, I guess, but that's fine.
there's a space for classes that have to do with therapy, but not
There
at
is
an
not a
erotic
recreational space though.
hypnosis. Yeah, not at an
Yeah,
erotic hypnosis convention.
no.
Which actually, we have a little bit of time. This is probably a good, let's have a little bit of a conversation about where the line is, because my
Ah,
understanding is a lot of people in the community, when you say hypnosis can be therapeutic, they're not talking about actual therapy. They're talking about one of the side effects for them of hypnosis is it helps them of having hypnotic relationships with people is it helps them with their natural anxiety or whatever. It's not like they're getting treatment for it.
no.
It's so for example, if someone at the con had a migraine and somebody else who was good at pain management, if they what's the line here? If somebody wanted to
Okay.
say, here's a thing that's helpful for me, I can teach you how to do it, is that okay or is that too far?
So I don't know if you realize this, but you have totally called me out.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Nope, nope, no idea.
I have been many times I have been straddling that line or flat out crossing it um to help out people when it came to it. And I will use a non-erotic hypnosis conference story just to kind of tell you the kinds of things that happen sometimes.
Hmm.
So at a uh not Geeky Kink, the con that Tess Fest, yes, I just had to reach for the name. Um, puts on in New Jersey every year. Uh, in the before times, I would be a fairly regular attendee at that, and presenter at that. So I met a young person who volunteered in one of the classes, and they were really, really good at
Hmm.
going down and following really good, complicated instructions. So they said, "Hey, would you like to play later?" And I was like, "Well, okay, understand, this is not an equal power footing. You can always change your mind, but sure."
Hmm.
Um, so then when it actually came time to play, we were in a private setting away from a class, and they brought a person with them.
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." No, chaperones are fine. And then it came out that they were having lots of, and have had, okay, this person was 21
Hmm.
at the time that we had this session, and they had been in pain for pretty much their entire life
Yeah.
in several, like legs, chest, head, facial tick, that kind of thing. They were a preemie, and some stuff just didn't develop very well.
Hmm.
Um, so it became very obvious that she was more interested in seeing what I could do with pain than actually playing. So
Yeah.
I gave her a choice. We either play or we talk about pain. And
Hmm.
I'm okay with either one. So she decided, yeah, let's talk about pain. So I put on a clinic for hypnotic pain management, and we went through all of her various pains, and I showed very different techniques that she could use to help relieve some of that. And when we came out of it, she just kind of was looking at everybody, well, me and the other person that she came with, and she was like, this is weird. Nothing hurts.
Hmm.
And then she got up and she started walking around, and she was like, this does not hurt. Is this what it feels like for you? And she was looking at the person she was with, and he was crying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sometimes you get called upon to do that, and I do it because, well, because it feels good, because it helps them to feel
Hmm.
better, and because I'm trained in that.
Hmm.
So it's not like I'm not pulling this stuff out of my ass. I've actually had training, fairly extensive training in pain management.
Hmm.
So I will say yes to people at a con who ask me about that, but I will not play with them and I will not do it in a public type setting.
Hmm.
Um, Other people have different rules, uh, but as a con, basically, if you're going to do a class, that class has to be kept in the recreational realm.
Hmm.
So you can talk about self-hypnosis. You can talk about how to give suggestions to yourself.
Hmm.
That's fine. Um, when you start talking about specific therapies, things you would want to help people with, whether it's weight or stress or anxiety or whatever else, that's when the therapy line is far too close and you need to back
Hmm.
off.
Yeah. And I also want to say for people who don't present, people
Mhm.
who are attending classes, and this is just me asking anyone who's watching, when you're attending a class, when the presenter says, I can't talk about this, I can't teach this, this is across the line into therapeutic techniques, please do not put pressure on the presenters to continue talking about
Yes.
that because there's a reason why they don't want to talk about it in the first place. So there's
Hmm.
a little bit of give and take. Give and
Yes.
take's not the right word, but there's people attending need to understand the therapy rule as well as
Yes.
people presenting.
And it's made
So,
difficult sometimes because as much as we say it's crossing the line, it's not really a line. It's kind of
mhm.
a fuzzy border. And,
Yeah.
you can go a little bit into it sometimes, and I won't say it's harmless, but you're not doing any active harm.
Hmm.
But then you go a little further and it starts getting into, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
like,
you have to watch it.
yeah, and
And
you and
I'm
I,
always having to watch it. And I have crossed that border a couple of times.
yeah.
And I've gotten
Well,
called on it, and they're right.
and it's interesting, and we've got 7 minutes left, so I'm going to try to say this quickly.
Okay.
There are so many people in the hypnosis community that come from a storytelling background.
Hmm.
Also, we're seeing more people get involved with music and hypnosis, which is awesome. And
Yes.
one of the ways in which storytelling, whether it's with words or art or music or whatever, one of the functions those things fill in humanity is emotional release and catharsis.
Yep.
And when you combine those with hypnosis, you're right. It is really easy to suddenly be, oh, we're over here where we're not talking about anything that can be
Yes.
therapeutic, to, oh, we're on the other side of the room now. And half of the people we're talking to have interpreted what's happening as a therapeutic thing.
Yes. And I mean,
Uh,
like, there is a certain amount of there is truth to the session or this the people saying, hey, it's hypnosis can be therapeutic in and of itself.
mhm,
It's we tell everybody, and on three you come back feeling refreshed and energized, happy and content.
mhm,
And what is that? That is this hypnotist saying, yeah, come back feeling good because I want you to feel good because I want you to want to do this again.
mhm. Yeah, as long as you don't, without negotiating first, say something along the lines of, and when you come back, you'll find an overwhelming urge to return the favor and drop me into
Yeah.
trance.
Oh no, people
As
get in
long
trouble
as
for
you
that.
don't do that, unless you've
Yes.
pre-negotiated, yeah, it's
Yeah. But no, it is absolutely true that, I mean, just by virtue of going into hypnosis and coming out, you get a certain amount of stress relief. It feels good.
Mhm.
And nobody wants to discourage that. You
Yeah.
know, by all means, feel good and have fun with it. But don't ask your presenter how to, how to break your smoking habit
Or similar.
or
Sorry, now
similar.
I'm remembering. Like I said, I'm a little scattered today. My father quit smoking. And when my father quit smoking, it was because he brainwashed himself basically into not being a smoker.
Yeah,
I've always said my dad had a midlife crisis, and instead of divorcing my mother and getting a 20-year-old girlfriend in a sports car, he stopped smoking, took up long distance bike riding. And
that's a
he
constructive
basically
midlife crisis.
he woke up one morning and realized that he'd been in his life smoking longer than he had been alive as a non-smoker. The time he'd been smoking was
Oh,
longer. And
yeah.
he woke up that morning and went, "That is not the person that I am." And by the end of the day, he was like, "Okay, the person I am now is the person who does these things." And as far as I know, had never touched a cigarette after that.
I'll bet he did. I'll bet he hasn't because
Yeah,
he made the determination that that's not him anymore. And that
yeah.
is powerful.
And if you could
And
teach people how to do that.
oh man. Well, again, I don't want to go into what we
Yeah.
do with smokers, but yeah.
What I mean is I was the end of that sentence was if you could teach people how to get up in the morning and go,
And
"Oh,
just
this person
decide,
over here, I don't want to do that anymore. I will be this kind of a
yes.
person." We wouldn't need therapists.
No. Well, I mean, you still sometimes need somebody to point out the way that you need to go, or to help you realize, I should say, is a better way of, wait a minute, this behavior isn't actually helping me any.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a kick in the butt. Uh,
Yeah.
and therapists are very, very good at gently allowing you to reach that conclusion without overtly suggesting it,
Mhm.
which is a
Allegedly.
really wonderful skill in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And but you have to be careful about it because people will tend to not accept things that are suggested unless it's their idea.
Yeah. So, to sum up, therapy, don't do it at the
Don't do it.
con.
Have fun.
And
All kinds of
Uncon,
fun.
totally fun.
It
And
is.
next week we'll be talking about 2024, which is
Hmm.
last year, where our con population, I'm gonna
Really
very
exploded.
yeah, anticlimactically say it jumped. It jumped a little bit. We will have links to talk about the dungeon and
Yay.
probably T to talk about his first official year on ConCom, and we'll get him to talk about online on Con a little bit.
Good. Excellent.
And then, of course, the week after that, because, it's 34 days until the event. 34.
Hmm.
34 days until the event.
34. Yep.
So, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be caught up. We'll be ready to talk about Charm 2025, and we'll see how many members of ConCom we can convince to get up on a Sunday morning and have a conversation live on the internet about it. But until then, thanks, Wise Guy. Happy
Thank you.
Saturday. And we will see everybody next week.
Next week.